Hi there, welcome to Boltline. This tutorial is going to show you how to use the editing tools that we have available on the Boltline website. So when you first get to boltline.org, you'll see the general home screen, and over here on the left side, you'll see two pretty important buttons. The top is where you can search for content that's already on the site, and the button below, the plus sign, will allow you to add new content. So if you click on that, you'll see this is where you add a new climb, this is where you add a new area, new climbing topo. Pretty self-explanatory. So I'm just going to launch in and kind of show you how to use all three of those different tools. So I'm going to use the search functionality and take you to Lily Lake. It's a climbing area in Estes Park, Colorado. Pretty popular area, really beautiful. And so here we go. And you can see that we already have a couple topos already uploaded. Not a lot of content, really, not a lot of routes added. And then on this part of the screen, you can see that there's already an area. So that's the Lily Lake area. So I am going to show you how to add another area. And in this case, it's a sub area. So within the Lily Lake area as is already established. The first thing I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to switch the map from this view to a satellite view. And click that button, it switches it on over. So that shows you the rock outcroppings a lot easier, and it makes it really much easier to actually add a new area. All right, so the area I'm going to be adding is called the fin. So I'm going to go over here, click the plus, go to new area, and type that in. Awesome. So what you'll see pop up on the screen is this yellow box that has these nodes on the ends, and that allows you to drag the box to kind of cover the area that you're trying to create. So the fin is this feature, this kind of long, well-named feature right here in the middle. So I'm just going to take those little nodes and drag them over here, and you can change the shape by grabbing the nodes that are in the middle. Zoom on in closer if you aren't quite sure where you're trying to place it, and you can be really accurate with this or more general, but you obviously want to make sure that you're not drawing your area over, a piece of rock that isn't technically in that climbing area. So I'm going to do that. That looks pretty good for now. Awesome. All right, so that's pretty much it. Over here in the description section, I'm not going to write anything for that right now, but obviously you could give a description of what the area is like or important information. Resources, this allows you to cite any other sources that people might find helpful. So if there's a guidebook that covers this area really well, or another website that provides really good information about this area, this is a really good place to add that. You can cite a website or a web page or a book. So that's pretty important. It's good to give climbers as many resources as possible. All right, so there's our new area. Now I'm going to be adding a new topo. So again, I'm going to hit this plus button, hit topo, and select a photo. So I already have one ready to go, and this is a JPEG, already named the fin. So what you can see right here is here's the photo that I've chosen, and then you'll see the latitude, longitude, and bearing. So this information came from my iPhone. Not all photos are going to have this geodata associated with it. It kind of depends on the camera that you use, but the iPhone, attaches that information, and so our software picks that up. I'm going to hit continue. And depending on the size of the file that you're trying to upload, this could take anywhere from a couple seconds like that to, several minutes. All right, so what you can see is, and I'm just going to click this button right here, get rid of this area for now, so it's not taking up more of our screen. So what you can see is this little triangle shape with the node, and that's the topo. And so the latitude and longitude associated with the photo dropped it pretty much exactly where the photo was taken. However, if you don't have that geodata attached, or if it's dropped in slightly the wrong area, you can just pick this up and move it around. So I might have taken it from slightly farther back like that. Maybe I took it slightly more at this angle. There we go. That looks really good. So that's really easy. That's what you want to do first, is make sure that the topo is located in the correct spot on the map. All right. Now we're going to hit down here. If you hit return to topo, you can actually view it. And then you'll see these editing capabilities over here, and we'll go over what those do in a few seconds. But if you want to go back to see where the topo is on the map, first you just click this button, so show on map. There it is. All right, but we're going to return to the topo, and I'm going to talk to you about these buttons right here. So the next step, once you've added a topo, would be to draw routes on the topo. This rock, the fin, has a very famous route on it called Edge of Time. So that's what I'm going to add for you today. Edge of Time climbs this really stunning arête and anchor at the top. It has carabiner anchors on chains at the top, and then about 5 bolts going up the face. So these different buttons over here allow you to add some of that information. So this button right here, add anchor or belay, click that and you'll see the yellow dot. So I'm going to drag it up. This photo isn't the most clear, but I do kind of see the chains right there. So I'm going to drop my dot right there. So that shows us the anchor. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the route on the topo. So that's the next button down. It's add climb segment. So if you click that, you'll see this big climb segment pops up. You can move it around, grab it by the nodes, and then if you need to add more to it, you can click these extensions. So if I click that, it adds another segment. Alternatively, you can just kind of stretch the segments as you go. Now, the goal here is, of course, to draw the route as accurately as possible. This route does kind of stay on the left side of the arête. So I'm just going to draw it like this, move it over here, and then it does actually start slightly farther in. So I'm going to move those nodes over like that. All right, so that's pretty good. That gives you a really good idea of where the route is and where it goes. Now to talk about the next button down, this, which isn't highlighted right now, but this button allows you to separate different climb segments if they've become attached. So if I zoom in up here to the anchor, you can see that my climb segment that I added snapped to this anchor dot that we added earlier. So now they move together. However, if I had wanted to attach this climb segment to a different anchor, say, I'd need to separate those. So if I click on something that is conjoined, I can now click this button, split climb segment, and now I can move them separately. So there's the anchor and there's the climb segment. All right, but we do want those attached, so I'll go ahead and snap them back together. This button can allow you to mark different segments as obscured. So if this route had, for instance, gone behind this tree, you can't really see what's going on back there. And so you could take the section that's hidden behind the tree and mark it as obscured. So then you can know that, okay, the route goes there, but you can't really see it, but that's where it goes. Obviously, that's not what this route does. And so I'll drag it back to where it was, and then I'll unmark it as obscured. And then, of course, this last one is the delete section. So if I did that, there goes the section. It's kind of annoying, but look, I can quickly rejoin, fix what I just did. Awesome. So you might have noticed that I skipped one of the buttons. That's the enter select mode. I will be going over that in just a minute. But that is just a quick rundown of what these editing tools do when you're editing a topo. Great. Okay, so we've talked about adding an area. We've talked about adding a topo. So now, obviously, what we need to do is add a climb. So I'm going to be adding the route Edge of Time. I've already drawn it on the topo, but I now want to add the route to the map and add the climb information. Go back over here to the left. Go to climb. All right, the name, Edge of Time. Continue. All right, so you can see that the topo kind of dropped out of view and we're back to this map. So obviously what I need to do now is move this little dot, which represents that climb, to its physical location on the map. So here's this arête right here is Edge of Time. So I'm going to get this dot right down here, kind of towards the bottom of the arête. I know it kind of starts just to the climbers right of that tree. So I'm going to drop that right there. That should be pretty close. Now, if I dropped that in the wrong place, all this software is editable by anyone. So if I did something wrong, someone can come in and fix it. or if I find out that it was in a different place, I can move it. But that looks pretty good right now. There we go. Now I can add the climb information. So again, here's description, just like we had in area. I'm not going to write anything for that. Here's latitude and longitude, so that auto updates as you move the dot around, and so it's loading. But so I'm going to leave it right back over here. Yep, so that changed a little bit. Resources. So again, this is where you can add other guidebook information, other website information. Stars. This is where you can say that, you know, your own star rating, give it what you think it is or what the consensus is. And then you can pick the style. So this is a sport climb. And you can see once I clicked that, this grades section opened up. And this is a 5.9. And I know that in the YDS scale, but you can see once I typed in 5.9, everything else, all the other grading scales updated. Bolts. This route has 5 bolts. Now, if I wasn't sure about that, if I was like, oh, maybe it has 7 bolts, I can flag that as uncertain. But I'm pretty sure there's 5 bolts. And so I'm going to leave that there. Anchor, it has some carabiners at the top, so I'm going to select that. And then its length is about 26 meters. We're doing this in meters, so if you know it in feet, just do the quick calculation and put it in as meters. Awesome. All right, so that's the general information. If this was a multi-pitch route or a route that had several different variations, you can use these two tabs at the bottom, so add pitch or add alternate route, and those allow you to add that extra information. It's very self-explanatory, but a little too much to get into in this tutorial, so explore that as you will. All right, so that's the information I want to add. So I'm just going to hit this little button, move this sidebar out of the way. Great. So now you can see the route is added to the map. But the final step is to associate that route with the climb segment that we drew. So we're going to return to Topo. Awesome. And so now what you can see is, again, we have this, we have the route drawn. So you can use the enter select mode. If you click that, then you can click on each individual segment that make up the route that you want to associate it with. Alternatively, if you don't feel like clicking that, you can just hold down the shift key on your keyboard and you can draw a box over the segments that you want to select. Once the entire climb is selected, you want to associate it with the climb. So I'm going to go over here to the search bar and I'm going to type in edge of time. Oh, it already popped up. Yay, there it is. Click that. All right. And what you'll see is there's the name. So now they're associated. You can drag the name of the route anywhere up the length of the route. This is really helpful when you're on a wall with like routes really close together. You want to kind of stagger the names so they don't overlap. All right, there we go. So we've covered adding an area, adding a topo, adding a route, and then associating the climb segments with the route itself. The final thing that you want to do is once you've made all your changes, you're going to come over here. And this has been totaling up the changes that we've made. So once I click on that, you can see that we added a climb, we added a topo, and we added an area. It's always a good idea to write a brief description of what you did. So, added area, the fin, added topo, and added climb, edge of time. This is really helpful because you can always review the changes in your profile that you've made, and so it's great to have the description to remind yourself of what you've done. You hit publish, and now that's live. So I'm going to hit show on map, and then you can see what we did. So you can see the route that we added, edge of time. You can see the topo hanging out here, and then the area that we added. So now that climb and area will be searchable, and you've successfully added content. And just to give you a picture of what a well filled out wall can look like, I'll just take you over to the fins. This is a great climbing area in Idaho. See, it zooms us right on over to that. And let's just look at, it auto updated to show these topos in this area. So we'll look at head wall. All right, so this is what a great Topo looks like once all the routes are added. There's routes with variations here. There's routes that cross, but everything is here. So you've got all the climbs listed on the left side, and as you kind of scroll over them, they highlight on the map. So this is kind of what you're going for, and we've done our best to add the best content that we can, and so we hope that you'll use our software to add your own local climbing area. Thanks so much.